Hey, this is Regina Huber at Transform Your Performance. I am a transformational leadership coach and author of Living My Freaking Amazing Life. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my very, very good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I have a 2.0 interview with one of my best friends in the coaching business, Regina Huber. We really dove deep into her new book, Living My Freaking Amazing Life, where the story, she's the most interesting woman in the world. The crazy, my cortisol raised, my adrenaline raised. It was like just absolutely a fantastic chat. And the leadership lessons she drops are above reproach. So I have notes upon notes, and I had interviewed her before, I believe in episode 380, and I learned so much then. But again, I'm blessed to call Regina a friend. We bounce coaching ideas off each other quite often. We cheer each other on. And this book, which I do have a 5-book giveaway in here, so make sure you listen to the end. So without further ado, here's a 2.0 interview with my really good friend, Coach Regina Huber. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It's Scott Ferguson. I have a 2.0 interview with one of my really besties, good friends, fellow coaches that, she's like the most interesting woman in the world. She's always traveling. And you're about to meet again since episode 380, a true force of nature, my good friend, powerhouse coach, Regina Huber. From the Bavarian Alps to boardrooms in Madrid, from dancing tango in Buenos Aires to navigating life-threatening situations with grace, Regina's journey is a masterclass in bold leadership, deep self-trust, and radical transformation. In this convo, we dive into her powerful book, Living My Freaking Amazing Life, where she doesn't just tell stories, she drops wisdom bombs that'll shake up how you lead, live, and show up. So let's get ready to be challenged and inspired. And Regina, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself again to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, what is something that you have done that maybe nobody really knows about that you keep to yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on again.
Welcome.
It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm totally delighted about it and looking forward to this conversation. Always really intriguing questions from you, so I'm curious too.
Yeah. The superpower is curiosity.
Ready
That's
to
where we
be
get
put
along.
on the spot. Okay, one thing. It's not necessarily something that I keep a secret, but I don't think that a lot of people know that at age 16, I hitchhiked all the way from our little village in Bavaria, Germany, where I grew up in, to Amsterdam.
Wow.
So maybe that's one interesting data
Did
point.
you get in trouble for that?
No.
No?
No,
Wow.
not at all.
16. Now that's pretty brave. That's pretty awesome. So this book, which Squad, by the way, I was blessed to write kind of a blurb, if you will. It's on the back cover of the book, and I will be doing a 5-book giveaway. So stay to the end for that, for how to get your hands on one of this awesome read. It was like I was going through a journey, like right next to Regina. I could probably feel my cortisol levels raise, my adrenaline pop. It was like, and even maybe shed a couple tears as well. And so this book, you really laid a lot out there. What was your, why was now the right time to do it?
Well, first of all, I had actually started writing the book about 2 years ago. And then it was lying there and sleeping on my computer. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it and what to focus it on.
Sure.
I didn't just want to make it some biography of Regina Huber that maybe nobody knew. And I wanted to make it meaningful to people, to provide value, inspiration. And then finally last year, I decided that now I had figured it out. And that's when I really started writing all the rest. And that's when it started flowing, so to speak, Scott, because before it was okay, this chapter, that chapter, little pieces here and there, stories, but it was not a coherent picture.
No, I love it. But you had the right time, and it's ballsy. It's bold to put this out there, which I thought was amazing. There's one thing I got out of it. You say your life isn't perfect, but it's perfect for you. So how did you kind of reframe pain and adversity into something sacred and maybe necessary for growth?
Well, first of all, I believe that we create everything, also those experiences that we don't particularly desire or prefer to have. And so I must have created them for a reason, right?
Right,
Even though that reason might not have been obvious to me, I might not have been aware of it. It was there for me in a
right.
way. And so I what I did, not always consciously at first,
Mhm.
right? I didn't always have the same consciousness as I have today. However, I think my life went from just do it to do things more intentionally,
Ooh.
even also dealing with those so-called adversities, which in truth are just really opportunities to work with. Sometimes they are opportunities for growth, and at other times they are opportunities to leave something behind.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. It's like I like to say, like someone like you is kind of planting trees that you'll never sit in the shade of, right? Because every chapter that you put out, there was lessons there as well. And
Mhm.
like kind of throughout this journey of the book, you kind of embrace a life of radical uncertainty, right? So like what in kind of an internal philosophy helped you navigate this fear without letting it paralyze you?
First of all, I think I always had an adventurous spirit inside of me, probably inherited it from my dad, who couldn't travel as much because I grew up on a farm.
Sure.
And despite being very shy as a kid, I really had this inside of me, and I was curious. I was wanting to see a piece of the world. Most people are afraid of uncertainty, Scott, but they forget that there are infinite possibilities in uncertainty.
Mm,
And if you are not willing to open your mind and heart to what you don't know yet, that what you haven't experienced yet, then life becomes a boring routine,
yes.
or you could call it a sea of sameness. And that's
Right.
not what I personally wanted.
No, you're definitely not living it. You know, like you mentioned, like live more, like you went from just do it, which is a neutral statement, which I feel
Mhm.
is the best neutral slogan ever. Because just do it is kind of like you're kind of sitting at the stoplight, and when the light turns green, do you get intentional and push that gas down and go? Which I believe, I love how you moved, and that's just massive action, like Tiara would say, like Tony Robbins would say, right? It's just like you do everything with intention. And that you mentioned, like part of the book, like that had my adrenaline spiking and kind of wish I was there kind of to protect you, right? With the muggers and stuff like that. But you mentioned that muggers were also teachers. Like, can you
Mhm.
walk us through one of your specific dark teaching moments that you really took away that maybe really kind of transform your life? One of those high cortisol, high adrenaline moments that really stands out to you the most.
Yeah, I could even call them my partners. You know
Okay.
what? They were a partner in me having that experience, me creating that experience, and they played that role in my life for some
Yeah.
reason.
No, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, so some people teach us something in consciously because they want to do it as human beings, and some others maybe as that spiritual infinite being that we all are, right?
Right.
And I think everybody's beliefs about that are, when you find a way to interpret it for yourself in a way that it makes sense, I think that's what matters.
Right.
And to me, these people were there. They came, they crossed my path for a reason. They crossed my path to help me have this
To
experience,
teach you,
to
right?
learn from it,
Yeah.
to maybe just live another reflection as I now know, because I'm also really doing very deep work right now, again, on myself and with my clients, as I now know, are really, these experiences are really a reflection oftentimes of undigested emotions at times. And as long as we do not really deal with those emotions, not in a way of getting rid of them, but transmuting them, dissolving them, that's when they will constantly come back as reminders. And that's when we talk about patterns, but really they are reflections.
Wow.
And these people had the role of reminding me that there was something I really didn't have to work on, but it would be beneficial for me to work on.
Right.
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 And so, and also say when that's why I say it's not a perfect life in the sense of everything is always going uphill or exactly working out as I want it to be or
Right.
as I expect it to be. It's perfect in a way that it is my life, a life on my terms,
Right.
a life that gives me those moments as
Right.
opportunities, and also a life where I have choice. I think
Sure.
that's an important piece. The choice, for example, to look for fulfillment through how I live, through how I work, what I do. And in the end, it's all about, to me personally, it's all
Yeah.
about freedom, power, and peace. And with power, I always mean inner power.
Sure. I love that because I believe I'm a big believer that success is nothing more than living a life of options and not obligations. Right. If
Mm-hmm.
it's like if you are living a lot of life of options out there, I mean, you have your obligations, you got to pay your bills, blah, 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 but you don't let that paralyze you into like staying in a place. So with that being said, you lived, worked, danced across 5 continents, maybe more. But what is living that, what you said, quasi nomad lifestyle taught you about power, safety, and freedom that someone maybe rooted and doesn't go anywhere in one place might never learn?
Yeah. So first of all, safety, again, is nothing external, right? So I mentioned freedom, power, and peace, but you mentioned safety, and that's an important one because it's a very important concept for everybody.
And no
When
offense,
we don't,
especially a woman. Like again, it's like I'm not trying
yeah,
to be sexist or anything like that because I know that if I was at that ATM, I probably with I test high on protection, I would have put myself in front of you. You know what I'm saying? It's
mhm.
just that's how it would be. But like just
Okay,
for a
yeah,
woman, it's
I
that
appreciate that.
safety. Yeah, you're right. But of course, but like safety you said is nothing external. So it's
Yeah.
internal. Like please go deeper on that.
Yeah, and of course, yes, we also protect ourselves from external risks as human beings, right? And from intemperate and whatnot. But what I mean with that is that safety again has to do with our emotions in a way, and how we deal with our emotions, how we deal with our uncertainties, how our insecurities, and all these different aspects that together make up life.
Sure.
And and yes, I've taken a lot of risks. Some people might call some of those risks crazy risks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've taken,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I've taken crazy financial risks. I've taken crazy risks, maybe walking in parts of cities where other people who are locals would probably never walk. And I don't do this mindlessly, though.
Right.
I am not really suggesting to anyone to walk in, I don't know, certain parts of Johannesburg or Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo without thinking about what the behavior, the
Sure.
safety behavior for that is. That's not what I mean.
Right.
But also using your intuition and developing that trust with your intuition, because your intuition is your true voice.
So
That is
trust with your
really,
intuition because it's your true voice.
yeah.
So what out of all of those was now
Mhm.
let's not go there yet. Let's go to kind of like you say that kind of let's parlay a little bit into leadership because a lot of what
Okay.
you do helps leaders. You're called into companies to level up their leadership, to transform their performance. And you say that leadership is wasi sabi, right? It's flawed, it's evolving, beautiful in its imperfection. So how can leaders then identify when they're being flexible, but how do I say this? Also kind of being true to themselves.
I think there's no contradiction. It's actually You can be more flexible when you are true to yourself, because you show your authenticity, you show up authentically. And as such, I mean, leadership is not about rigidity. It's not about leadership is a lot about adaptability, in fact. And by, of course, moving to different countries, I've learned adaptability
You
personally.
have to,
And I think
right?
the same applies to leadership. When
Mm,
I think when you show up authentically and are true to yourself, and people know what you stand for, and
hmm
they trust you, and they think that you're credible because of how you show up, then they will actually also they will help you with that flexibility.
Right. Yeah, they'll follow you as well because you're
Yeah.
authentic, because you're being true, right? Because they don't feel like they're being played. They're saying like, oh, this guy's just in here to climb this ladder. He really cares. He's true. He's authentic. But I think a lot of that goes back in kind of the hiring process of companies. I just brought on
Mhm.
somebody that's critical to me, and it took me like 3 months, and I had her go through interviews with two other people that I trust to bring her on because I want her to really be kind of an extension of me, but be herself. Because I'm
Mhm.
blessed to be able to travel a lot and speak a lot, and I need somebody here in Florida that's going to have it happen. But you're right. I mean, authenticity. If she would have came in different than what she interviewed as, and that's why I kind of put her through the gauntlet, right? With that. So
Mhm.
beautiful that you say that. And within your story, it shows that adaptability without authenticity becomes self-abandonment, right?
Yeah.
So how can leaders then identify when they're being no, hold on a second. Let's not even go there. I'm sorry. I'm going to edit this because I have like 10 questions I've been wanting to ask you that I came up. I wanted to be thought provoking.
Okay.
So, okay. So you took on like high pressure leadership roles, like across the globe, right? Which is like how one squad, I think she speaks 6, 7 languages or something pretty fluently. Her courses, her books are all out in different languages, which is just freaking amazing, like freaking amazing life. So you took on these high pressure leadership roles, right? Before you felt
By the
ready.
way,
There you go. She's got the books there. You took
Portuguese and English now.
love it. That's awesome. That's a beautiful Portuguese, is such a beautiful language. Being living the life of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's like I can understand a lot of what they're saying, Regina, but I can't speak it yet. But it is in my Duolingo, which I'm learning it. So that way you and I can have a conversation in Portuguese one day. But
Yeah.
again, you took on the high leadership roles that we kind of talked about before you felt quote unquote ready, is what you wrote, right? So how did you
Mhm.
override the imposter syndrome and own your own brilliance before the world kind of validated you?
Well, I wasn't really aware much before I was put into that leadership role, you know?
Okay.
So it was a pretty quick process. I
Mm-hmm.
had just moved to Spain,
Yeah.
Madrid, 10 months earlier, and just learned the language, Spanish, evidently. And then, yeah, so I was asked whether I wanted to interview for a role that was becoming available. It's actually the role of the woman who interviewed me. And yeah, so she was leaving the company.
Mm.
So I said,
I thought you got there,
well,
they were impressed by you and kicked her out.
no, no, no. No, no, no. So yeah, I had no relevant background, no relevant experience or studies or whatever.
Sure.
And there were some external candidates that I was interviewing in parallel with.
Sure.
There were also, I remember, psychological tests and all that stuff. I went through the whole process, and my first question was when they asked me is, "Wow, but what would my colleagues think if I just came here a few months
Mhm.
ago, literally, and what would how will they react if all of a sudden I'm their boss, right?"
Okay. That's an
And there
interesting
were
question. Please, I can't wait to hear this.
yeah, and interestingly enough, Scott, it was not a problem.
Hmm.
And I think the
But how
reason
did
why
you
they
answer it?
Oh, no, no. I asked them.
Oh,
I
got
asked
you.
them. I
Okay.
was
Apologies.
concerned.
My
I was
apologies. Okay.
concerned, yeah,
Okay.
about that initially.
Right.
And then it was not a problem. It was interesting to me.
You carry that
So
with you, though. I'm going to
I
interject here because you're the epitome of this. like a lot of my clients and even myself, right? They attach their their confidence to their abilities, right? So who am I to coach my professional athletes, a billionaire, get in front of 2,000-3,000 people and speak? Who am I to do that? Like my abilities, yeah, maybe, but that imposter syndrome kind of sinks in, right? But you said something earlier. With my clients and myself, I attach that confidence to my intentions. My intention is to level up everybody that I come in contact with, right? My intention is when I'm in front of those people, that at least one or 1,000 of them leave that place wanting to level up their life, right? And like, again, Chet, my client is a 3 comma guy, right? A billionaire. And it's like, who am I to coach this hedge fund guy that is an absolute beast? But my intention isn't to coach him on his business because he's forgot more about that than I'll ever know, right?
Exactly.
But it's like there's other parts of his life that are a blind spot for him, and I help him realize those. So I believe a lot of that goes to your intention was there. They
Right.
noticed the intention and the confidence kind of came with it. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. That is so true. And initially, what they probably saw in me is my proactive attitude, and
Yeah,
that's where they probably invited me to interview. And then yes, my authenticity is a part of this, because I did not know about the concept of authenticity.
right.
This was many years ago. I was 26, and no, 27 actually.
Okay.
And it all happened so fast that I never had a coach back then. There was no.
No one even had that back then,
No,
you know,
exactly.
in our
And my,
generation, it
my
never happened. No.
exactly. No formal mentor, even though you could say that my boss was sort of a mentor, but he
Sure.
was mostly on the road.
Yeah.
So it was like me, myself, and I a little bit. And I had to figure this out. And I
Right.
also, as you said, it was not my job to know exactly how these people that I had in my team, which was a very diverse team in terms of their jobs.
Right.
It was not my job to do their job or to know exactly how to do their job.
Right.
That was their job. I
Right.
was there for something different. I was there to manage their careers, to help them get training, to all these different things, right? And
Right.
to be there as a go-to person.
Yeah. And I just think that they see that in your moments that you're doing what you love in the service of people that love what you do. Right. So what I mean by that is like you're doing what you love. You wouldn't be there traveling, doing something if you didn't want to do it because you live your life intentionally. Do what you love in the service of people that love what you do. They see that you love what you do, right? They see it, so they will follow you, right? They see that authenticity. They see that grind, that drive. They see that you're not trying to put one over on them and put them down and you keep yourself ahead. Like you're bringing them along because I'm a big believer in the plus equals minus lifestyle, right? Like every day, find someone that I want to emulate or learn from. And then every day the equals is like me and you, we kind of rap and bounce ideas off each other. But like what you're doing at these jobs that you manage is you send the elevator down the minus side to people to bring them up. And that's why you're so successful. That's what it is. You live that plus equals minus lifestyle in spades. So you said that there's no competition. We're all uniquely brilliant. Hopefully I hit that right. So in a culture obsessed with comparison, like social media, all that other jazz. So how can somebody practically shift from scarcity to this abundant mindset that you carry around with you like so beautifully?
First of all, I suggest that you really do a deep dive on what your unique brilliance is. And I created a very simple framework for that, which is on my frameworks page of my website. That is a simple process, and it can really help people find out what that unique brilliance even is. And once you're totally clear on that, that's when the competition somehow goes away, because
Wow.
there's no one like you and there's no more need to compete. And you can learn from others.
Yeah.
Sure, you can check people out. What do they do online? We all learn from each other, and that's great. but there's no need to say bad things about other people, for example, who you want to compete with, right?
Right.
And you also, this also helps you to show up more authentically, because now you confidently can show up with your strengths,
Mm,
with another piece of your potential that you didn't know about before, maybe, or were just not completely aware of.
right.
I always say it's about knowing, owning, and showing the value you bring, right?
Knowing, owning, and
Knowing,
showing.
owning, and showing the value you bring.
Mm. And
And,
so
mhm,
how should, let's go to the showing part
yeah.
with how do they show it without trying to show people up? Again, I've been in the corporate world, I've been in the
Mhm.
military, even in the coaching and speaking. It's like I love females that. I have a massive business crush on you. I admire you, right? And stuff like that. And I come to you for advice and stuff like that. For women, how do you think that like they should kind of turn that the pain of poor salaries into a strength for them? Like, what do you think their number one mindset block is? Do you see in women in particular, or maybe even anyone who struggles to bring their own worth?
Well, most of the time it has to do with confidence, and it also has to do with owning that value that you
Right.
bring,
Knowing,
you
owning,
know,
and showing. Right. Okay.
and showing. Yes. And that's not only talking about it. That's something that sometimes people confuse. It's
Right.
not just about talking about it. It's integrating it into who you are. It's embracing it, and it is embodying it.
So
And
showing is
yes,
the action word, right?
yes. So it is really also about your presence. But what is presence even, Scott?
Hmm.
Scott, this is a presence is a combination of many things. It's a combination of your behavior, your attitude, your words, your thoughts, even your body language, of course, your energy, so many things. And once you get to a point where these are all aligned, that's when you don't have to talk so much about what makes you great.
Say that again. Because it
It's
makes
not,
sense.
there's
I just
nothing
don't,
against
I'm trying to
talking.
make it make sense, even more sense. And I want the squad really dig in because
Okay.
that was very profound. That was like, that was straight magic. So say that again.
Okay. Okay, I'll try it. So when your words, your thoughts, your attitude, your behavior, your energy, your even your posture, your body language, when all of that is aligned, that's when we see your greatness in your presence.
Wow. So
In
there's got
different
to be
words, a little bit
harmony.
said a little differently.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You actually dumbed it down for someone like me, right? To understand it better, right? It's like there's what I'm hearing, a shout out to my book coming out, Harmonic Hustle, but it's kind of like harmony within your
Mhm.
life. Because again, I think you and I maybe talked over pizza that day that balance is shit, right?
Yeah,
Sorry, balance is junk. Where like I
yeah.
love jazz, right? And
Mhm.
like so God or spiritual is the drums, personal growth's the guitar, the piano might be family, the community is the horns, on and on through the rest of the pillars of work, money, living environment, and what you like to do for fun. If one of them's out of tune, right? It sounds like junk, right? It just does. It doesn't sound good. But if you find someone like you, bring them in and help them tune up that little bit to live that harmonic life, and knowing that another one of their instruments is going to go out of tune. It's just going to happen. But if you can keep things in harmony, you live that harmonic life. Hence my harmonic hustle, right? That's going. So am I nailing it there? Because balance, we don't really want to search for balance so much. We want harmony because you had to have harmony
Yeah.
showing up in 20 different places. Well, how many places that you had? And you kind of have to live the when in Rome kind of thing when you first get there, right? You kind of have to adapt. You
Yeah.
can't just bring in your own because people will just be like, get out of here, right? So
Oh,
harmony,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love that. So,
absolutely.
okay. So out of the experiences that you've had, which one of them, and I know there's a lot, was the biggest teachable moment for you?
Look, I used to say experience with this fraudulent business partner in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very life-changing experience for me in many senses. I've talked about this on quite a few podcasts. There is a more recent one though, and it was when I was at the ICU a few years ago with malaria symptoms.
Mm.
However, really, I had already gotten over that malaria thing pretty well. And I was given medication for it, which aggravated everything very seriously. And I didn't really know whether I would not pass over to the other side.
Wow.
And in that moment, I experienced a peace, a sensation of peace so profound that I'd never experienced in my life before, at least not that I remember.
Right.
And that was interesting in many senses. So first of all, the only moment that was of importance, Scott, I think that describes it best, was the now. And if we consider that time is an illusion anyway, which some of our listeners might agree with,
So true.
then what matters is the now. And that I experienced on such a deep level, I cannot put that in words, really. You can only sense it.
Right.
That was very profound. And then also, of course, it inspired me in that moment to live my life even more authentically and even closer to my truth.
Right. And even more in the now.
Yes, also that. But
presently, like very presently. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be present more. Yes,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
And right now in my life, even after I finished this book, I started doing this much more again. Much, much more.
Okay.
As a daily practice. It's really becoming a new way of living.
Right. So
and had I done this before, my book would already have been different. That doesn't mean it's not relevant.
Yeah.
Yes, but I've already started a new chapter because it actually happens often when we finish a book and all of a sudden we finished that chapter, even if it's a very big chapter in this case,
Sure.
and there's a new one opening up for us because it is also I don't want to call it necessarily a healing process, but it is a process of growth,
sure,
for lack of a better word right now.
Yeah.
While we are, and you probably have that same experience, Scott, while we are writing a book, we are growing as a result of that as well.
100%. Yeah. And just being present it's so cliche, but it is where the magic happens. It is there because like Ferris Bueller said it in his movie, and like life goes by so fast. If you don't stop, right, and just check it out, it's going to just fly right by you, right? And I paraphrase that. Matthew Broderick said it way better than I did, but it's the truth. So I'm going to kind of re-ask you a question from our first interview, but like Back to the Future, that movie, right? Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Regina. Like, what would you drop on her? I don't want you to change any of your journey, okay? It's amazing. But like, what might you drop on her to maybe shorten a learning curve or blast through, like maybe corporately or in life in general, maybe just a little bit quicker?
I would really focus on everything that has to do with who I am rather than on the external stuff. So I would dedicate time to get to know myself really well, to also find out through that inner journey what I could transform at that moment so that I wouldn't have to do it later, so to speak. And there's a lot that we carry on our shoulders for decades and decades that if we had known how to do this, then we could have lived let's just call it fewer challenges and
Yeah.
more preferred
Well, where's the
experiences,
fun in
right?
that?
Of course, no, of course.
There's no
I'm not
memories.
saying it's good or bad. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Well,
I
yeah,
just think that a few things would have been easier,
sure.
and that's what I can think of right now. So really go deep with that self-awareness journey, not just about what we talked earlier about the unique brilliance and what do we need to maybe work on, but more like in the mindset and the emotional arena.
Okay. So focus on everything to do with who you are, not the
Mhm.
externals then, right?
Yeah.
Don't let that, like, be
Yeah.
present, be yourself, be
Mhm.
like, really do a deep dive into yourself and hire a coach like you to kind of help you hold that mirror up in front of them and help them really just lean into their ultimate human, right?
Right.
So how can we find you?
Well, my website is still there where it was last time,
Yeah.
transformyourperformance.com.
Okay.
I added a new page, which is about freedom coaching now, because I really want to also do more work in this life is a holistic phenomenon area.
Right.
And I started working with a new methodology that has given me additional, not just tools, but really a new perspective, a new way of living. And it's already reflected in those first
Right.
testimonials of the people that I've worked with. So that's, yeah. And then, of course, my website has all my other links.
There's your book.
Yeah.
It has it's a fun read, Squad, and I literally read it on a plane flight to an event. Like, literally, she sent it to me in advance copy, and it was such an adventure in the book. It's like an adventure, like you're maybe reading like a, I don't know, like a first person novel, like the old Harry Bosch ones, like that are out there that are just full of excitement, saying, "Is this even real?" What she's talking about in the stuff, but she backs it up with proof, with pictures and everything else, which is just amazing. And I do want to do a 5 book giveaway for the first 5 people that put Freakin, and it's got to be spelled the way it is in her book, Freakin. You want to put the apostrophe on it, that's fine. But if not, I'll know that you've listened. And I'll send you out a copy of her book in whatever version you want, the Kindle version or the paperback version. But I'll have that mailed to you on time to shine today's dime. And Miss
Wow.
Regina, so where are you now?
First of all, thank you. That is really a lovely offer. So
You're
thank you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome.
I didn't expect this, but I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in Lyon right now. So I technically spend part of my time in the US, part in Europe. I also have the desire to travel a little bit more again in Africa soon.
Mm,
And let's see what can be done there. I have a few things in the works. Let's see what
sure.
happens.
Love it.
Yeah, that's where I am.
I love it. And it's, I'm having, like, with Regina withdrawals here in the United States until she gets her butt back here, so we can have our pizza and a chat. But no,
Yeah.
I miss you though. It was, our friendship here in Florida was pretty awesome, right? It was just cool. But no, I love that you're out there getting it done and serving. And I love with this new technology, Squad, you can hire Regina to serve you through her programs. And really, I'm really kind of intrigued on the freedom coaching, which is a little bit different than I think that anybody's really ever seen before. And I want you to really kind of do a deep dive into that page. I'm going to do a separate page in our show notes. Go ahead and look down there. But Regina, I need you to do me one last solid and leave us
Okay.
with one last knowledge nugget that we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I might have said that last time already, but I'm going to say it
That's
again,
fine.
actually, because never rely on others to empower you. No one can empower you but yourself. Your power is already inside of you. You had a choice to tap into it or not. The
Sure.
choice is yours. There are always choices, even when it seems there is none. There are always
Right.
choices. And if you take this really and run with it and reflect on it and work with it, then your ultimate freedom is in your hands.
I love that. And it's just empower yourself, Squad. That's one thing that I really kind of took away from this is I mean, how freaking amazing was this chat with my good friend Regina? They remind us we don't need permission to live boldly, right? We create everything, even the experiences we don't desire or prefer. Own it. Responsibility. It's the ability to respond, not react, but to respond. It's rooted right in the word. That's what Regina took throughout her whole life. Knows that there's infinite possibilities in that uncertainty. There's teachable moments everywhere, she reminded us. Experience can be a reflection of undigested emotions. That hit me hard. Really think about that. Experience can be a reflection of undigested emotions. And she also mentioned that safety it's nothing external. It's how we deal with our uncertainties, insecurities, and whatnot. Like the safety is in the present, where she's just in a just do it. And then all of a sudden she leans into her intentions and she takes action and she's doing it. She wants you to do a really deep dive into your brilliance. And the way that you can do that is hire Regina. Like, get her. She will get that brilliance to the surface and help you lean into your ultimate human potential. And reminded us that knowing, owning, and showing the value you bring. Knowing and owning, that's you, right? You know it, you own it, but you got to show out. You got to be authentic. Get out there and dance. Go have fun. Like, speak to people and dance as if no one's looking or no one's around. Like, seriously, get out there and lean into your ultimate human. And lastly, that never rely on others to empower you. It's already there. Tap into it. Get with Regina, have a conversation. She will help you tap into it. I know she has with me in my past, and she levels up her health. She levels up her wealth. She already knows that she's absolutely stunning. She's earned her varsity letter here at second varsity letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much, Regina. I love your guts. I miss you immensely, and I can't wait till you're back here in the States. But until then, stay safe and just level up.
Thank you so much again for having me. And thanks for your awesome questions as always.
Yay! Mwah. Talk soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today, proudly brought to you by Inlet Properties and Investments. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on the Time to Shine Today podcast, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you'd like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also, there you will see our recommended resources. We hope you will help support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have been listening to, it'd be great if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's your time to shine.